as a fair warning, the concept of block references is simple enough, but it's got so many potential uses that this video will not even scratch the surface of what those might be. But because Roam is really built on the concept of block references in many ways, and you can do so much and leverage so much of your knowledge and your tasks and whatever you have in your own graph with block references, I simply must share with you how you can use them, at least in a basic way, so that you can get a sense of how to make them work. I don't mean to make them sound complex. They aren't. They're fairly simple in concept. It's just they have so many potential uses that there's really no way I can cover them all in this moment. Block references really do bring a sort of next level power to Roam research, because you can reference information at the atomic block level. If something is in a block, and remember blocks are just potentially or effectively where a bullet point is, that's a block, you can reference that block anywhere in your graph. So you can look directly at that block from anywhere in your graph. One of the things I think is really valuable about that is it allows you to keep information consistent in the same way that you might optimize a database. That information can live in just one place, in one specific block, and then be referenced wherever else you need it. The implication of that, of course, too, is that once it's referenced somewhere, you can also then indent underneath that reference and type new things, and now you have effectively created a web and a branch from that original block that exists somewhere else in the graph. So you're building this sort of lattice work of connections and information, because you can indent under a reference to a block that lives somewhere else entirely. So it allows you to connect those thoughts from different areas of your graph. I use it extensively in my task management, because my tasks can live in a project, but I don't want to go into the project to do the work. I want to be able to set an agenda that may include tasks from lots of different projects. So when I set that agenda, I use block references for the agenda. That way, for one, it's safe. I'm not going to accidentally delete the task from the agenda. If I did delete the task there, it would still be fine, because it's not the original, it's a reference. And two, though, if I mark it as done in the reference, it will also mark it as done in the original, because it is referring to that one original. So it is a nice, it's a nice feature to be able to access certain information and certain atomic information at the very block level, without having to go directly to it every single time. So it's relatively easy to copy a block reference. You can simply right-click the bullet, and you can choose Copy Block Ref. And having done that, if I were to come here to the next bullet and I were to paste, you'll see it'll paste a 9 digit, 9 character, I guess, code there within the pair of parentheses on each side. And you can see that when it renders, it will render with an underline underneath it. So this is not plain text. This is a reference back to here. And if I were to change it to I can copy a block reference, you'll see the reference also changed to I can copy a block reference. So any changes that you make in the original will reflect in the reference. You'll notice a little number out here at the end of this one. That little number, if you were to click it, allows you to see where that thing is, see the original block that you're referencing. That is called an inline reference count, and that only displays if you turn it on in the settings. So inline reference counts turns on this little number here. The original block, you'll notice, has a number over here on the side. That one will be there regardless what you have set up in your settings. You can click that one and it will show you where the references are. So the original block will allow you to see where its references are, and if you have inline reference count turned on, the references will allow you to see the original block as well as any other references. So that's kind of a fun little feature as well. But simply you can copy a block reference by right-clicking, choosing Copy Block Ref, and as you'll see here, there's actually a keyboard shortcut as well. If you have a reference selected, a block selected, and I hit Control-Shift-C or Command-Shift-C if I'm on a Mac, I can then copy that reference, and you'll see that it exists there. It's that reference. And if I can actually don't even have to highlight it. If I hit Control-Shift-C while my cursor is in a block, it will select that block as a block reference as well. So that's how you can do that with a mouse or with a keyboard shortcut. So now you can also access block references by typing 2 open parentheses and searching for an existing reference. So if I were to come here and hit those 2 parentheses, now just like if I had hit 2 double brackets, or 2 double brackets, I would, it will allow me to search. But now instead of searching for pages, like double brackets do, I'm searching for blocks. So if I were to start typing block references, bring next level power, oops, if I type it right, it'll be even better. This is bring next level power to Roam Research. You can see that's one that exists there, and automatically I got my little number up here, so I'm now referencing that block down here. So that's this original block referenced down here, all discovered by hitting the 2 parentheses and searching for it. And it's a pretty broad search. As you can see, it can do a lot of interesting things here. I have a block somewhere in my graph here. It looks like back on December 22nd, I had some things that I wrote here. That looks like it's this looks like it's something from another area of my script. But that's how this works when you want to search for existing block references with the double parentheses. There is a more advanced version of that. You can search with Control-Shift-9, which is also, if you can think of it as like Control open parenthesis. Control-Shift-9 brings up a block search where you can search, block references, and I'll do the same thing. And this time, you'll notice that it not only shows me the place where the block is, but it shows me the path to it. So I can select that if I hit enter, and now I can move up. I can move back up. I can search around for the blocks that are underneath that. And if I hit enter, it will then post that block in here. So it gives me a little bit more, and you can navigate up and down the parent-child ladder from that block, so you can find the specific references as they exist in context. The double parentheses, typing it that way, will just show you individual blocks. The Control-Shift-9 will allow you to see it where it exists in the context of an existing page and other hierarchy of nested blocks. I don't use Control-Shift-9 a ton, but when you do need it, when you have a specific thing where you're not sure where a block is and you need to see what the path to it is, it can be a pretty powerful way of searching. So when you need it, it's quite powerful to use it. Once you have that basic concept of block references, it's also useful to recognize that you can do some additional things with block references. One of the most enjoyable ones for me, and one I use most often, is block embeds. Embedding is a type of block reference where the full text of the reference is visible and editable somewhere else. I think of it this way: a block embed is a window to the original reference. So, as an example here, this reference we created up top here, you can see when I hover over it, I can't do anything with that text. It's just a link. If I were to click on it, it would give me some options, but none of those are, edit the text. If I were to click on this, choose Replace with Embed, now I have a thing that I can click in and I can change. So now within the reference, I can copy a block reference, and notice it changed it in the original. This is now a window back to the original because it's an embed rather than just a regular reference. You can create an embed by choosing block embed here from the slash menu. And when you do that, it'll give you the format, and it'll take you right in where you can search for a block. If you already have one copied or whatever, you can paste it in there. But you can bring it in from the slash menu. You can do what you already watched me just do. If I were to create this a block reference of this here, click on it and choose Replace with Embed, it will automatically give you that embed. And if you want to look at the code of that, you can see it's just an embed that it has put that block reference inside that. Roam uses these double curly braces anytime it wants to render something other than the actual text that's inside it. So Roam has a little code on its back end that changes that to look like this, and then you have your window to the original reference, where you can actually change the text if you want to. And of course, because it is text code, if you really wanted to, you could also just manually wrap an existing reference code with the two braces, and you can add the word embed and a colon in front of the parentheses. So you could certainly do it manually if you wanted to as well. Those, as I said before, the embeds are a window to the original block. So if you change this text in the embed, it will change the text in the original. That's important to remember. Sometimes you don't want to change text in the original. Sometimes you actually want the original to stay the way it is. But if you're going to do it with an embed, it's going to change the original. A couple of other little things to note here. I'll copy a block ref so you can see them. So if I'm clicking a block ref here and I click, I can choose jump to block, and I can choose open in sidebar. Either one of those will take me to the original block. So if I choose jump to block, I'm going to be focused on this original block. Jump to block, and now it's brought me in and focused me on this specific block. Same thing if I shift click it, or just choose open in sidebar, it will open that block in the sidebar. Okay, so this is jump to block and open in block. We're going to open in sidebar, and if you want to do it without even having to open the menu, if you just double click, that will jump to the block, and if you shift click, that will open it in the sidebar. And then last, the thing I want to show you here is the replacing tools. I already showed you replace with embed, but you'll notice that there's several other options. You can replace with text, you can replace with an alias or text and alias, or you can even swap the blocks with the original and bring any nested items along. So let's just look at those in turn. If I were to replace this with text, there's no longer any connection between them. There's now no longer a reference. You just have the original text here. And you can change it however much you want, but just know there is no connection remaining between those two blocks. If I were to click it and choose replace with alias, I will now have a little asterisk there and a reference back to the original. And the asterisk is actually sitting inside a little a link here. So this is a link format, and the link is taking us back to the original block. So if I were to click it, I would go back to the original block. But that's what an alias looks like. Actually, and I should note, in replacing with alias, I can type anything here that I want. This is an alias, and it will function. It puts the asterisk there as a default, but you can have whatever text in that you want to have there. Or it can replace with text and alias. This is particularly useful if you want to retain the link back to the original. So the alias does that, but then you want to change the actual text here. So jump to horse. I don't know what that means, but I can change that text. It does not affect the original text, but the link to the original text is retained via the alias. So that's replaced with text and alias. And then last, replace with original. Swap blocks only. You can see it just literally put the original down here and swap the other there. That will work from anywhere in the graph. They're right next to each other right now, but it would work anywhere in the graph. And if I happen to have any, if I had nested item and I wanted that to move with it, I could choose bring nested items along, and it will do that. If I did not want it to come with it, I'd say swap blocks only, and the nested item would stay under what is now the reference, and the original block would move to where that was. So it's some interesting little, maneuvers there that you can do with these block references. This video is already kind of long, but I wanted to make sure that you had gotten a chance to see all of the various things you can do with a block reference. Most important thing to know is that you can copy it by right-clicking the bullet and choosing Copy Block Ref, or with Control-Shift-C or Command-Shift-C if you're on a Mac, when you're in the block or when the block is selected. And that will grab the reference. By grabbing that reference, we are now working with something that refers back to the original block rather than the original block itself. And when you put it as an embed, you can alter the original block, and there are a lot of different little features you can use it for. But effectively, a block reference allows you to point to an original block without actually having that same text of the original block here. You can see the text, but it's pointing to where it exists elsewhere in the graph. And there are a lot of uses for that in task management, in knowledge management, and I use it a lot in meetings as well, as a way of sort of referencing material from things we talked about before. And when we talk about them again, I can have a reference back to where we talked about them before. So it's all kind of tied together. If this video helped you, click subscribe. And check out my Rome courses as well. I have the Roaman Way, which is a free course to help you learn the fundamentals of Rome research. I have AP Productivity, which is my flagship Rome course. It is an 8-week live cohort course to help you get important work done in Rome research. I have Powerful Task Management in Rome research, which helps you build a GTD-style setup for task management in Rome. And I have Your Road to Rome, which I'm actually updating in November or December of 2021. And it is a deeper dive than the free course, The Roaman Way. It has live masterclasses, Q&A sessions, additional instruction about Rome extensions, especially Smart Blocks and Rome 42, which you can get from romejs.com. And there's a community forum for discussion of new Rome features or help with your workflows. Rome research is an amazing tool, and I want to help you make the most of it in your life and work.